National's proposing to boost people's nest eggs by gradually lifting Kiwisaver's default contribution rate by 0.5% a year until it hits 6% for both workers and employers by 2032.
It's done gradually so that actually employers and employees have time. But really, at the end of the day, when we look at what Australians get, which is a 12% contribution, in this case, what we need to do is build the same way in New Zealand.
At Sweet Hacks, their costs will climb by $5,000 a year.
Yeah, so there you go. That's all we're going to look at because we're getting the gist of it. So Kiwisaver going up to 12%, 6% from the employer, 6% from the employee. On one level, it sounds more money to retire to. Great. On another level, it seems that there is a good portion of workers in New Zealand at the moment who aren't earning enough in their hand already, which means this day-to-day might send people backwards. Craig, what are your thoughts?
It's a bit like standing, in front of a burning building where a man with a box of matches and a can of petrol said, it's a good job we get the chance to rebuild this because they took away the tax credit. Right? It was $1,000. The National Party removed the tax credit from $1,000, now down to $260. There was a $1,000 kickstart that you used to get for your Kiwisaver. National Party got rid of the $1,000 kickstart. Yes, it's going up, but the minimum wage has been going up by less than inflation for the past 2 years. If you suddenly start taking away more of a low-income person's income, every dollar counts. Yeah. And as a consequence, over a few years, very rapidly, quite large sums of money are no longer inside that minimum wage workers' pockets. If we increase the minimum wage by 2%, which is a very generous assumption each year over the next few years, then a minimum wage worker would be $3,821 worse off by 2032.
Worse off in their pay pack, you mean? Because it's not worse off when it comes to their savings. So in their hand Correct. At the end of the week.
Yep, absolutely. And in that final year, they would be, in that year, they're over $1,000 worse off in terms of their pay packet. Now, don't get me wrong, they've got more in their Kiwisaver, but the time value of money for someone who doesn't have a lot of money is really important. And so they may well say, do you know what? I'm not going to be in Kiwisaver and I'll just get all of that 6% back, which would be the worst thing in the world. Now, if for those of you who are desperately following along at home as well, if you turn to page 29 of the Budget Economic and Fiscal Update, you will see a table marked Economic Consequences of Kiwisaver. And there is a line in that budget that then says, we expect the increase in the Kiwisaver contribution, because the government's already decided to increase Kiwisaver to 4%. We expect 80% of the employer contribution to be met by lower wage increases. So the employee is paying for both their contribution and 80% of the employer contribution. And so you keep lifting that, then what you're seeing essentially is year after year after year, your contribution's going up, your wages aren't going up because your wages are going to pay your employer contribution. And then there are two things that make this worse. One of which is this will encourage a thing called total remuneration wages, where instead of being told this is what you're going to get, you get told your total rem is $120,000. That includes your Kiwisaver. If your Kiwisaver rate goes up, it doesn't make any difference to the employer because that's your total remuneration. And as a consequence, we'll see more and more and more total remuneration packages inside people's wages, inside employment contracts. 2, the Employment Relations Amendment Bill, which will be in front of the House, includes an amendment to make it easier to make an employee a contractor. And if they're a contractor, they get neither the employee or the employer side of the Kiwisaver, meaning they're 12% worse off by the end of this. So it doesn't make any sense financially, and it doesn't make it's the right idea. We all need to save more money for Kiwisaver, but just like everything else, even when they've got the right idea, they're loading the costs on, or the current government's loading the costs on all of the wrong people.